Hey guys, so more sciencey stuff. Um, this stuff does fairly well, which is why I do it. Plus, all this stuff is really, you know, nice to know and interesting stuff. So, the brain activity of a dying person was recorded for the first time ever. A patient's unexpected death during a study has given us the first recording of a dying human brain. Scientists managed to capture the unique event while monitoring the brain waves of an 87-year-old epilepsy patient. During the study, the patient experienced a heart attack and died while still being monitored. It's a unique situation and one that has given us a new glimpse into how the brain reacts at the time of death. Here's what a recording of a dying human brain told us. While the study wasn't designed to record a dying human brain, it did give us some great insight. The researchers recorded around 15 minutes of brain activity surrounding the time of the heart stop, at the time that the heart stopped beating. To see how the brain reacts at death, though, they focused on two 30-second intervals surrounding the exact time that the heart stopped. Upon inspection, they discovered gamma rays, gamma oscillation, gamma rays. Gamma oscillations in the recording. Gamma oscillations are brain waves we associate with dreaming, memory retrieval, and meditation. As such, the phrase "my whole life flashed before my eyes" might be that far off. Wait, might not. I think they mean might not be that far off. Based on what they saw in the recordings, the researchers say the brain may actually play a recall of important events in our lives when we die. Well, looks like my death's going to be boring as fuck. It's an interesting concept and one that many have believed for many years anyway. To see it finally solidified with scientific research is exciting, though. Yeah, if important parts of our lives are basically played for us when we die, mine's gonna be boring. It's gonna be as boring as a silent movie with your eyes closed. Raising more questions. While exciting, the results of this study have also brought some additional questions. For one, Dr. Ajmal Zamar, the lead author of the study, says that the findings challenge our understanding of when life ends. It also raises some important questions regarding the time that organs are harvested for donation too. I mean, yeah, uh, pretty much for the longest time they assume, okay, the heart dies, everything shuts down, and within a certain amount of time, you can pretty much, drain the blood, all that. But now they're basically saying it's like, well, maybe we might need to consider waiting even longer, because apparently the brain isn't fully shut down. It's almost like when a computer says do not turn off or shut down during updates or something, because it can mess it up. It's like, I don't think we want to be harvesting organs now while we now have this important information that, even though everything shut down, the brain is still going. Which would make sense. It is kind of like the epicenter of the body. It's what tells everything to move. So even if it is, even if the heart stopped, the blood stopped pumping, your brain is what's given the orders to, make everything happen. Your brain controls your muscles and your organs and stuff like that. So it would make sense that it would possibly go on a bit longer after you die, even after everything's shut down. Your heart stops beating, your blood stops flowing. It would make sense. So I think they need to take that into consideration now when they start fucking cutting people open to take their fucking organs out. Because that means if the brain is still functioning, that means there's still some semblance of consciousness going on. So are we? I mean, there. I don't think they'll ever be able to prove if we are able to. But I mean, imagine your brain still functioning, which means you can still have some kind of, you know, physical or whatever to what's happening around you. I mean, there are some people who say, "Oh yeah, I was floating above my body." It's like, do you really want to see yourself floating above your body with them fucking taking your organs out? And that's only probably because of your brain still functioning. And once the brain completely shuts down, that whole out of body experience probably just doesn't happen. Um, so yeah, they might want to take into consideration when they're harvesting body parts now. The research shows that the mind continues to work in a dying human brain, even when the blood has stopped flowing to it. I mean, that makes sense. This means it's capable of coordinated activity even after death. This isn't the first time we've seen these kinds of waves in dying brains, though. We've also previously seen with these waves in dying rats. However, this is the first time we've seen it in a dying human brain, which makes it even more intriguing. Just to let you guys, for people who seem to think rats aren't stupid, that's why they test on rats. Rats are incredibly intelligent, despite the brain being like this fucking big. Rats are incredibly intelligent, and that's why they test on rats so much, because they're incredibly smart. So people seem to think that rats are stupid. No, they're very smart. This is just a single case study. Though. For any definitive results, we would need to have access to a much larger pool of information. Even though there are factors to consider too, the patient suffered from epilepsy, though. As such, the results from other dying human brains could be quite different. The researchers have said they hope to continue studying the process. Well, you better go get some epilepsy patients and hope that they have heart attacks. The researchers published a paper on the research in the journal Frontiers of Aging Neuroscience. And it says click here to read the full version. This is a full version, so there's no point. But yeah. So basically, for the longest time, it's like, oh yeah, a few minutes after the everything starts, starts shutting down after you die. They always say, oh yeah, the hearing's the last thing to go, and this and that. But it might be that consciousness obviously is the last thing to go, since your brain is still working. Like I said, your brain is what controls your body. It's what sends all the little impulses to all the rest of you. So when you move your arm like that, that's not just your arm doing it because it wants to. Your brain is sending signals like, hey. So like I said, it would make sense that this is like the headquarters. So this is like corporate, and everything else are just the branch restaurants, or whatever you want to consider them. Just the branch stores. So even after everything is, gone, the headquarters where it's all coming from is still there, even if for a little while, because eventually, no branches, no one making money. Eventually, the headquarters, the big ones, that's going to shut down too. So it's just kind of like that. So it makes sense that this would be the final thing to go, and that consciousness would still, in a small way, be there, since this is where consciousness is coming from. It's not coming from your heart. It's not coming from your organs. Your organs function because of your brain. So even after your heart stopped pumping and your blood stopped flowing and your eyesight is done, your hearing is done, there's still some semblance of consciousness, and they found out that it lasts a lot longer than what they thought. So it's like I said when they said about the harvesting organs, yeah, they might want to wait a little while. I'd say wait a good couple of hours before you start harvesting. I know some people have to, it's like, oh, well, if it's an emergency, sometimes it's an emergency and you don't have time because the longer it sits, it'll, start to rot. But speaking of rotting, No better way to rot yourself away than by Monster Energy drink. Not sponsored. But if they're able to see this, I mean, maybe they are at some point, not right now, because I don't think we have the technology for this, to see what happens after death. You know, like, I would love to see what people dream. So, if we could have the technology to see what people dream, like, not just, but actual physically on a screen what they're dreaming of, if that would ever be possible, then maybe it'd be the same for a dead body. See what's actually happening, see what kind of visions are taking place as the brain shuts down. And especially with sometimes, that saying, "Saved by the Bell." Well, that's an old saying. Like, people would die, and everyone else would assume they were dead, but then they started burying people in the ground with bells, so in case they did happen to wake up, they could ring the bell, and the groundskeeper would dig them back up. So that's where the "Saved by the Bell" came from, because sometimes you think someone's dead. Even now, it happens. You think someone's dead, but they're not actually dead, and suddenly they're fucking being cut open. And most of the time, it's that whole paralysis thing, where they appear to be dead, but they're not actually dead. They're still consciously there, but then they're claimed to be dead, and then suddenly, the whole fucking chest cavity opens up. And so, yeah, back in the day, they had little bells, so in case anyone happened to wake up from death because they weren't actually dead. A lot of them still died anyway, because, I mean, especially if it's storming out or something, you really think the groundskeeper is going to have to hear this tiny little bell jingling? No. But that's where the phrase came from. But yeah, I would love to see the visions that are happening in the brain as it shuts down. I would like to see what people dream. The brain, it's so fragile, and yet it's like they say, it's more powerful than a supercomputer. It can hold more information than any computer in existence. It's not like a computer where you fill up so much space and then you have to, like, oh, God, delete that. No, our brains seem to have like an infinite amount of space to it. I mean, obviously that changes when you get older. Your brain activity starts to change, and you're not getting the right kind of chemicals up there, so you'll tend to forget things. But it's like the woman I took care of. She was 85, and despite the fact that she had dementia and affects her brain, she could talk for ages about when she was a kid. So those memories are still all intact and everything. So it's just crazy how something so fragile can be so powerful and mysterious. This is same thing with space. The human brain might be something people want to look into, because even if, like I said, ages and ages from now we don't have a planet here, and we're somewhere else out in the cosmos, we're still going to have brains, and we might want to be able to understand them. Understanding life and death, and what happens after death, and what happens, to the body. So it's really cool stuff. And there are plenty of like autopsy type channels on YouTube. I watch them all the time. A lot of them are like from like universities and colleges and stuff, where they'll have the bodies there like pretty much decayed and dried, not fresh, but they'll go through and say, oh yeah, this part of the brain. They'll show you different parts of the body, different diseases that can happen and what will happen. It's really cool. But yeah, that's something I do in my spare time. I mean, I may not like reading books, but there's a plethora of knowledge online if you just care to look. So I try to stay well versed in everything. But anyways, that's just me and my geeky science side. What do you guys think? I mean, if you could do something with the brain, like find out, something about it, what would it be? Like I said, I would love to see people dreaming. We can see brain waves and everything while people are dreaming, but I would like to see physically, like I said, you put it on the screen and you can actually see what they're dreaming. The people that are in their dreams, the scenarios that are in their dreams. Imagine if you could do that with nightmares. That would be so fucking cool. That would be scarier than any horror movie you could think of. Seeing people have nightmares and see what scares them, that would be more scary than any horror movie possible. I mean, the whole thing of like Nightmare on Elm Street and stuff like that came from dreams, from a situation that was happening. And so a lot of these horror filmmakers, these characters come from, experiences they might have had as a kid, something that scary happened, or dreams they've had. So if people are having nightmares and we could physically see on a screen that scenario that they're going through, not just brain waves, that would be so fucking amazing. But that's just me. Anyways, you guys know the drill. I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.